Senator, there's a lot going on critical minerals right now. It's bipartisan. It's between and by branch of government also. Everybody really understands this. It really hit home. I think starting with COVID, then obviously with Ukraine, and now when the Chinese use this in the trade negotiations, game over. It's time. It was time, and we can't talk about everything that's going on here, but I can tell you this is something that is right at the top of everybody's mind. And I think the testimony that was given here is that the administration had very little choice when they were talking about the chips versus critical minerals. We don't want to be in that position, and we're going to be out of it here pretty quick. So. I don't know about pretty quick, but we're going to be out of this and we will be well on our way out of it pretty quick. Senator Cornyn.
What should we make of President Xi's purging of senior military leadership in the PLA in terms of his confidence in his own military? Dr. Doshi.
Thank you, Senator Cornyn. It's a great question. The single most important political question right now in China is very simple. What is the relationship between President Xi and his military? There is no more important political question in China than the relationship between the chairman of the party and the vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. Right now, we have an unusual situation where the vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, one of the two of them, He Weidong, was purged despite not being obviously corrupt and actually being quite competent. He was previously the head of the Eastern Theater Command focused on Taiwan. So his purge is a big deal, and President Xi personally elevated him and promoted him up 2 levels to become that vice chair position. In addition, the number 4 person of the PLA was purged Miao Hua, the top political commissar of the PLA, and then, of course, Li Shangfu and others, too. You look across the party, 10% of the Central Committee has been purged. 600,000 members were disciplined. Actually, 800,000 were disciplined last year. So here's the direct answer to your question, Senator. Is President Xi a Stalinist who purges because he's purging for the sake of it, to keep people in fear? Or is he purging to make his military more competent? We don't fully know the answer, but I do want to speculate for a moment about the second possibility. He's pushed out a lot of folks that he thinks are corrupt, that care much more about their personal enrichment and promotion than they do about China's national interest. And pushing them out is a way of making the PLA more effective, not today perhaps, but tomorrow. And so there is the possibility that over the short term, President Xi has taken decisions that will make the PLA less effective if they had to go to war in the next year or 2. But in the next 5 years, it might make them more effective, especially if they can solve some of their corruption problems. Finally, Senator, I want to add one other possibility to your radar. I don't have high confidence in it, but we have to speculate. There's not great evidence of the party's relationship with the military at this moment. But the other person who matters in the PLA is Zhang Youxia, the top vice chairman of the PLA. He's the number 2. And there's some rumor that perhaps he and He Weidong had some disagreements, and that the purges that have resulted are a product of those internal disagreements within the PLA. We don't have high confidence in that view, but the very possibility that there could be internal, disagreement in the PLA is alarming and shocking. It also does not put China in a great position to act immediately on Taiwan.
Well, I think we can safely assume that the thing that concerns President Xi, even more than Taiwan, is maintaining power. And is that the right way to look at it in your view?
I think that's absolutely right, Senator. President Xi thinks big picture about what he wants to accomplish in the world, but every day he's got to ask himself who has the guns and who has the security services. The PLA is the gun, and the security services is the knife in the party's terminology.
And finally,
it's not for half an hour.
Does President Xi and the Chinese Communist Party draw any conclusions about the U.S. resolve to come to the assistance of our allies around the world from what's happening in Ukraine, for example?
I think that Xi Jinping and the PLA have to consider the worst case. They have to plan for the United States intervening in Taiwan or coming to the aid of the rest of our partners. I think they likely are closely observing indicators that they have identified as to whether or not U.S. support for our allies is weakening. But from what has taken place so far, certainly if you look at our military exercises and our dialogues with leaders, our Secretary of Defense, who is gone out to visit the region many times and coordinated with our allies, made some pretty tough statements, for example, about PRC pressure on the Philippines, just to cite one instance. I doubt that the PLA and Xi Jinping at this point is likely to underestimate the U.S. commitment to its allies.
Senator, I would just add one point, which is that I do think what happens in Ukraine has profound implications for how PRC thinks about Taiwan. The PRC has a history going back over 30 years of studying foreign conflicts. They always ask themselves, what are the lessons from those conflicts? During the Falkland Islands War, when an Exocet missile from the Argentinians sank a British vessel, they thought, wow, we should have more missiles like that to go after the Americans. So everything happening in Ukraine, they are studying very closely. When they shot down one of our Nighthawks over former Yugoslavia, they immediately ran a report on that all the way up to the very highest levels, including the president of China. So they pay close attention to everything happening when there's military power demonstrated, and they're paying attention in Ukraine.
Thank you, Senator Cornyn. Thank you to our three witnesses. We do a number of these. I can't tell you that. I can tell you that the three of you have demonstrated why we hold these hearings, and certainly very high level of information that we've received, and we recognize it and we sincerely appreciate it. We're going to leave for members, we're going to leave the record open until close of business tomorrow. If they have other questions, they will get them on to you, and we'd ask you to promptly respond to those if you would be so kind as to do so. So again, with our sincere thanks, thank you very much. And with that, the committee is adjourned.